Welcome to the RC Roundtable podcast, where we discuss the latest RC hobby news, events, model reviews, and a whole lot more.
What are you sighing about already?
We made it.
You haven't given me a chance to disappoint you yet, and you're already
Fitz
sighing.
squeaked in, man. Like you said, he slid in like Pete Rose.
Yeah, head first.
Just-in-time manufacturing. Japanese would be proud.
Trying to take out the catcher.
Well, welcome everybody to the RC Roundtable live from various places in the United States. That sighing, hand-waving chap is Lee Ray.
Hello.
That guy looking off to the side, Mr. Captain Crunch, is Terry Dunn.
Oh, where's my Ambroid? Is it going to be one of those episodes?
Who's that?
Like-
I picked the wrong week to stop sipping glue.
What was the show? Drunken History? Should we do
Right.
Fumes RC Roundtable?
For those of you listening, Terry just took a big whiff of some Ambroid glue.
Oh, it's goop.
And now, or goop,
think-
sorry, some glue.
Yeah, just as effective, I think.
It is effective. How many fingers am I holding up?
More readily accessible these days.
I don't know. I think Ambroid's 90 proof.
Well, everybody, welcome to the live show. I see a bunch of people already in the chat. You are enjoying the beginnings of episode 209, like Ed 209 for RoboCop, of the RC Roundtable. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I see some familiar names. I see some new names in the chat. By all means, participate.
Participate. This is why we do live. In fact, we discussed like topics today, and I just told the guys, look, let's chat with our listeners.
Yeah,
What do they
there-
want to talk about?
There are times when we don't prepare well. Sometimes we do. We spend some time up front to think about what we want to talk about, and we have a good list. And then there are times where we don't do it so well. And then there's days like today, where there is a very marginal list of things where we are shooting from the hip.
There is a list. It's just
we
this
have a list.
long.
We just didn't check it twice.
It's written in chalk.
Well, think of this as a Christmas special AMA. Ask us anything. Ask me anything. It's that kind of deal. So,
Yeah. All right.
So
Well,
you'll get my little.
is that? I see my name.
yeah, I'll try to
Oh.
read it. I'm not quite sure what he's.
Trevor, he's our buddy up in Canada, and he does airplanes and vintage cars. So,
Like RC cars or like the ones you get inside and drive around?
well, he might do other ones too, but he does RC cars.
Ah,
So
okay,
he and
cool.
I did some horse trading not long ago of some Team Losi parts.
Speaking of Team Losi, you see they announced they're going to come out with a four-wheel drive Losi car. Apparently they never made one other than a
There's-
prototype back in the 80s.
There's been Losi four-wheel drive. Are you talking Team Associated?
Oh, I'm sorry, Associated, not Losi. Sorry,
Yeah.
because I'm an idiot. But you said Losi, I was thinking, yes, Team Associated announced that they're going to have a four-wheel drive RC10.
Did they announce it? I thought there were still just rumors and rumblings. So
Pretty
far.
sure they announced it. I saw it somewhere on one of the social media sites that they know they had a prototype back in the 80s and never went anywhere. And so for the first time ever, you can get a gold pan. Or
Yeah,
they
that's
didn't
kind of-
announce the details, but
Yeah,
Right.
and that's kind of an interesting facet of the vintage RC car scene. Losi, or excuse me, now you got me saying it. Fitz. Team Associated never released their own four-wheel drive version of the RC10.
Yeah.
But MIP, Moore's Ideal Products, they came out with a kit where you could convert your RC10 to four-wheel drive. And people will correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding and my experiences, that kit was never very successful. It was never as good as the purpose-designed four-wheel drive kits from other manufacturers.
yes.
But here, skip ahead 30, 40 years, and those MIP kits, the four-wheel drive conversion kits, fetch crazy money. I mean, thousands of dollars. And there's actually somebody's trying to sell an RC10 with one of those original kits now for $3,200.
Oh, that's
and-
crazy. That's worse than bruiser prices.
Yeah, so the point of all that is to say that an interesting thing I've noticed now is that a lot of the more desirable things in the vintage car scene now weren't actually very good back in the day. They're just,
Yeah.
and maybe because they weren't good then, they're rare now. So to see a hot trick chassis kit or a four-wheel drive conversion kit or maybe some unique tire. Those are the things that really fetch big dollars and get people excited these days.
Yeah, because I mentioned a bruiser. I was looking at, when it came out in the 80s, I thought, well, this is the coolest thing ever, but it was way out of my price range. And I thought, well, I'm an adult and I've got a real job now. Let me see if I can find one of those bruisers, because it's just so cool. If you know what to me, a bruiser, it was...
Like a Tacoma, right?
Yeah, they got a Tacoma pickup truck with a cab. But what was really interesting about this particular vehicle was it had a really scale-looking frame. It had an all-metal frame, or mostly metal. It had real leaf springs. It had a 3-speed transmission, and it was electric powered for a 3-channel radio, and it was just really neat. And they're still insane prices for it, even though it was reissued 10 years ago or something like that. They're still getting crazy prices for them. So I was like, yeah, no, never mind.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about RC10 specifically a few months ago because Team Associated had just released their clear version, which had the silver chassis and then clear Lexan suspension parts. And since that time, they've released a bunch of others. There was a 40th anniversary edition, a Jay Halsey Championship edition. They just released another one that has a green chassis, and now they're talking about this four-wheel drive version. So even within the past year, they've really gone headfirst into the vintage re-release scene.
Yeah.
Some people are happy about it. Some people are not so happy about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, I think, because it's if this is true, Trevor's saying it may not be official that they're doing a four-wheel drive, but I guess you're in a kind of weird area where it's an RC10, you got that vintage thing going on, but it's something they never made, so it's sort of new as well, or a new old design or something like that. It's kind of a weird gray area.
Well, some of the grumblings I've heard, and I've got a friend up here who's kind of heavy into creating or collecting the older stuff, not necessarily the most unique stuff, but just collecting the older stuff in different forms. And his experience has been, since all these new re-releases are coming out, his stuff is not so rare and unique anymore because you can go to a hobby shop and buy new parts that are indistinguishable from the old parts. So they just made his rare stuff not so rare.
Kind of kills the market.
Yeah.
So that happened for real cars. For the longest time, you could not get the left front fender for a DeLorean. They didn't have the molds, and so people were hoarding them. And if you had one, it were like gold.
Right.
And now one of the DeLorean company here in Houston has announced, hey, we've secured new molds so now we can make the left front fender, and we can get it for now a third the price that was on the used market. So I just killed the market for people hoarding them now. So it happens in real stuff too.
Yeah.
But
the flip side of that is there's also a push where people are racing these vintage cars, and so for those people, they now have an accessible supply of parts, which is always handy.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Yeah,
there's kind of two opposing camps here in the opinions on the re-releases.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Yeah,
but sometimes they change a little bit because I've been going back and forth. My first RC car that I built was the Frog, the Tamiya Frog. I got it for Christmas when I was very young, and I put it together, had a lot of fun with it, and I no longer have it. And when I last had it, it had been modified so much it was just vaguely. I think it had just several parts that was from original. Everything else was upgraded, modified. It was a pan car. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get another one. But the newer ones are different. They've changed some things. Arguably for the better, actually, but it's still not quite the vintage. The stickers have changed, parts of the differential has changed, or drivetrain, that is. So there's some little minor differences. It's not quite the same as the original release. And so I go back and forth. We need to have it, but I don't know. I've already had one. Maybe I'll get something different. But anyways. Sorry to go off on a tangent here, but...
That's right. One last thing to say about vintage RC cars. Just yesterday, Schumacher, I don't know if you're familiar with them, Fitz or Lee, but I used to have one of their off-road cars called the Cougar.
Wasn't he a racer? Wasn't he? Is it named after actual person, Schumacher?
That's the name of the company. Oh, well, there was...
It sounds familiar.
There was the Formula One racer, Michael Schumacher.
Oh, okay.
He was German, though. So anyway, Schumacher RC is an English company that's made all sorts of RC cars for, I think they started in the 80s. Anyway, they announced yesterday that they're doing another re-release of one of their 90s two-wheel drive off-road designs.
Really? It's interesting. I guess they sell all the molds and stuff, and they can just
No, actually, well, I'm not sure about Schumacher, but I've talked to people at Associated and people at Kyosho. Both of them said they had to re-engineer 100%, well, close to 100%, and retool to make this vintage stuff.
Really?
Old tool. They didn't have it just sitting on a shelf for 30 years. So.
I guess we got rid of it. Yeah, I had to talk to you offline about. I've been kind of thinking about. I never had any of the Kyosho cars. Oh no! Wait, no. I take it back. I had one of the glow-powered one. It was like a Jeep buggy thing once for a brief period of time. But I never had any of the electric ones. I know they have the Altimas and the Ultimas and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like the one. There's one that has a kind of a metal frame in it, and I don't remember. I can't remember if it's Altima or Ultima. So
probably the Javelin, like a roll cage kind of thing.
Oh no, it had the internal frame. I'm pretty sure it was either Optima or Ultima. I know one's a 4-wheel drive, one's 2-wheel drive. And I thought, well, I never had one of those. I wanted to talk to you about what you think about those.
All right. I have both, and both are in re-release form. So we can get you what you need.
All right. I got what you need. All right. Anyways. I guess,
somebody poke Lee.
Are you awake?
What?
Still with us?
5. I never touched her, I swear.
Yeah. So the last comment on vintage car stuff, Trevor pointed out that Team Lucy hasn't done any re-releases. And let's see, he says because they didn't want to... they just said they didn't want to. I actually talked to somebody at Team Lucy, and basically his reason for saying they didn't do any re-release stuff is because to do so would have been too expensive. It would have been outside what they see as the target price point for their stuff. So what they did do is they released a replica of it, and instead of 1/10 scale, it's 1/16 scale. So it looks just like an old JRX2 two-wheel drive racer. It's just it hit with the transmogrifier
version.
Yeah, the shrink ray. So anyway, okay, we can move on.
Okay.
That's our show. Thanks, everybody.
Broken RC car show. All right.
We good. Oh, what's that? No, right. I wasn't clicking that. I was clicking this one. Oh, why am I not getting... I'm trying to click on Dan's, but I'm keep getting Trevor's. Something's afoot with the there we go. That's what I was trying to click.
Dan Sponhole says, "Howdy, boys."
There we go.
And why am I narrating this as if people can't see what we're doing? Why is that, Lee? Why is it fit? Well, because we got some good feedback from one of our listeners after the last show.
Oh, I see. We're segueing. Gotcha. Go ahead.
You see how smooth that was? Like butter.
That was smooth. Continue.
So we did get some feedback after our last show, and I believe the word they used was unlistenable. Is that correct? Unlistenable? Some word in that genre. And
yeah, man, talk about right in the heart. Just stab you in the heart, twist that knife.
Right, but we have to be honest with ourselves and take a step back and like, yeah, he's got a point with what he was talking about. And I'm not going to name names here, but so
Bob.
We have taken
that was obviously Bob.
And basically, what he said was the last show had a lot of us looking at slideshow pictures from Fitz and Lee from your trip to Florida Jets. And what did I have? I had something. Maybe it was my boat and indoor event. Anyway, we were narrating a lot of us looking at pictures. And for people who aren't privy to the pictures because you're listening in your car or on the toilet, then you're kind of lost. So we're trying to be more mindful of...
But not this episode.
Not this episode.
Yeah, we should have started. By the way, for those listeners, this is a live show.
Oh, well, we can
still show on YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube.
You don't want to miss it.
Which is a video transmission device.
We can still paint pictures with our words. So let's do this.
There I was. The wind was blowing at 72 degrees. The plane glowed like it shouldn't glow at midnight.
A dark figure appears behind Fitz. It's getting closer and closer.
So,
little does he know.
Slowly I turned.
So let's just say our 2025 resolution will be to not alienate our pure listeners. Does that seem fair?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. Were there any questions that were posted that we need to address?
I
Who's
think
monitoring
that's
the
it.
questions?
I mean, a lot of it's just between you and Trevor. I mean, it's just the Trevor and Terry show. With a little feedback from Fitz and Lee in the background.
That's okay.
Does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any comments? Any stories they want to share with us? Something they want us to talk about?
Yeah.
I know we all have workbench stories, but we'll, my gosh. Other than Lee complaining, and by the way, that's the way you spell a girl's Lee. So let's
think
not
he did
do
that on
that, Trevor. Yeah.
All right. So while we're waiting for the questions to come flooding in,
Yeah, all 500 of them.
We didn't get any other wonderful emails?
well, I brought that one up specifically just
Yeah.
because it's was something we had to heed. And so I
I'm
thought
sure there's got to be one in there about something about our mothers, right, or something.
See, those are the ones that I filter out. I don't.
Thank you.
I forward them to your wives. So Will wants to know why we never talk about monster trucks. I think that it's an easy answer there. We don't talk about RC cars much at all, and within that, I've got one monster truck, but most of my stuff is smaller cars and.
So,
Go
it's
ahead.
funny you mention that. I was just thinking today, I'm looking right at them on the shelf. I've got two monster truck-ish. I got the Traxxas something or another, and they're both glow-powered. And I've never run them. They've just been sitting on the shelf collecting dust. And so I was thinking over the holidays, maybe I should take one of those things down and see if I can get one of them running. I think they're 20 size. I think one's maybe a 15 and one's a 20 size glow engine on it. And it was sort of as a dual purpose for me, to get it running, but I could also experiment with fuel mixes with it. So,
Oh, there you go.
so hopefully, maybe I will be able to talk about a monster truck at some time in the not too distant future. If I
Your
get around to it
neighbors
this
are going to
summer.
love that.
Oh, they already love me because I was running this plane right here in the backyard earlier today.
The RV8.
RVA with a twin 40cc engine on it, and that's not quiet.
Nice.
And that's nothing. I think I ran my the Marine Saulnier in the backyard a couple times. That sucker, that wake up the dead.
All
That
right.
thing is loud.
What kind of lawnmower does Fitz have back there?
And they can't say anything because there's a guy right by here who loves to mow his lawn in the middle of the night. It'll be 9 o'clock at night. What the- He's got a headlight on it too and stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's not as hot. But
So at least I'm considerate. I don't do it at weird hours, and a lot of times I'll do it in the middle of the day, or so not at odd hours in the morning. I'll do it, when people are normally awake, and I won't run it for very long, that kind of stuff. So I try to be considerate.
yeah, everybody loves Fitz.
Like Raymond.
All right, I just saw another question pop up. There it is. All right, thank you, Lee. From Curtis Simmons. Are there any UMX airplanes that we would consider a good indoor flyer? I think my question to that question is, how big is your indoor space?
Yeah.
Because UMX, and maybe you use that term generically, to me, UMX means it's the newer brushless versions that are 2 or 3 cells. And for those, you need a pretty good size gym. I would say at least a full basketball court to be comfortable. But like a timber, especially if you can put the flaps down. So I would say most of the 2-cell UMX planes are good in a basketball court. Smaller than that, I go to the brushed 1-cell planes, like a Vapor. I mean, you can't go fly my Vapor in this workshop.
Yeah, the vapors you can fly, in a large living room practically.
Well, I don't think we talked about our event, Fitz.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, so
we're gonna
let's
do that now or
kind
later.
of segue. We'll segue into it because we can talk about what we flew.
Oh, speaking of indoor,
If you're flying in a room that has a DC-3, these are the planes we recommend.
Yeah, one of our club members is real friendly with the people here at the Lone Star Flight Museum, and on occasion he organizes an invite for us, the club members, generally speaking, to come in and fly indoors in one of their big hangars. It's real neat because we get to fly around real airplanes. They'll make some space for us in the middle, and they'll have a few planes out in the perimeter, like the DC-3 that Lee mentioned, and I think there was a Corsair and there was a helicopter that was in there temporarily. The things change each time there because the museum gets stuff on loan and whatnot. And sometimes there's been MiGs there or P-51s, all kinds of weird, neat stuff that comes in and out. So it's always neat to go in. They invite us in, and we usually, just a few of us, fly around indoor stuff. And so we did that a couple of weekends ago. I brought a few things, some new stuff. Invited Lee to come down, so he came down and flew some things. And a few other club members joined us. So we had those night vapors who was flying around.
To go there with the, like, what would you recommend? The vapors were the easiest thing to fly in there.
Yeah.
And they could bump into anything. One guy did actually nudge the DC-3. Hello there, DC-3.
Hi there, will you be my friend?
And in this situation, they modified the floor and the setup, and it was a lot tighter than it had been in the past. So really weren't as comfortable as before. So the vapors were just the choice because they were slow and they didn't weigh a thing. In fact, two of us were seeing if we could land on the tables they had put out, those round dining tables. I won, but I had my Champ S Plus in there, and boy, I tell you, it was a tight circle. I was kind of nervous, man, because we also had too many people. They had a lot of people at this event, or a lot of people working, so that was frustrating. But
So
to
too
go
many
back
people at an event.
indoor, I mean, we've had it in the past where people would walk like behind us, or people wouldn't come across us, but they had a whole team of like 15 people working on a helicopter, cleaning it, moving it, and there was an event that was.
I thought you meant too many participants in the.
No.
No.
Just and there were some times when the kids were fun and having a blast, and that's fine. We were doing that, but I think going back to your question, Curtis, the Timbers are always good. I have a Timber and I have my Champ S Plus. Love those little UX planes. With Safe and AS3X, they're just a breeze to fly. And I don't think I'd fly. I don't know. Would you fly your Twin Otter in there?
Yeah, that'd be tight. Yeah, I think I even thought about it. But it was a little. I think a little too tight for the Twin Otter to be.
And they're pretty quick. They're pretty beefy, speedy. So
yeah, it's pretty speedy. So you want something that's slow and floaty, and so high wing, a lot of wing area. I'll segue into my Challenger. If you remember the Challenger biplane, Terry, multiplex.
Oh yeah, a flat forming.
Despite being fairly large, it's actually a really good indoor plane because it can fly really slow and it's aerobatic and it's actually really nice. And so I brought it. I hadn't flown in a while, and so I put it up. Had done like 2 or 3 laps. I was trying to get the elevator was a little bit out of trim, so I was doing a trim, and I gotten up, and all of a sudden, bam! I hit one of the lights that are hanging from the ceiling. Yes, and it came down in about 3 pieces.
The airplane or the light?
The airplane.
Okay.
In his defense, he lost 5 feet of airspace below. So he was staying high and trying not to hit things. And some people were just walking in front of us without really paying attention. So I was standing next to him, trying to give him where people were standing. But I forgot to tell him the light was there.
Yeah, I've never hit it because I've flooded planes several times there before. I had a good time. I never hit anything, but that light just grabbed Charlie Browned it real good. So I was like, damn it! I'm starting to have fun with this plane too. And
back in the day, the first indoor flying event I did, which was at a church, like gymnasium, I flew a slow stick.
Well, I was just going to get around and say you flew your GWS Pico stick.
No, I flew
okay. Yeah.
high alpha the whole time. It was like it was tight.
I took a Pico stick to the last one we had. I found one at a swap meet recently that had the twin motor drive. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I got to have that. So anyway, going back to Curtis's question, he said they got a UMX air tractor. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a 3-cell UMX brushless plane. And at that same recent fly-in we had up here, the indoor fly-in, which is a big facility, like almost half a football field with 50-foot ceilings, Ron Hull was up here. He had an air tractor, and he said he wasn't comfortable flying it in that space. It was just too speedy.
Interesting. Did you see the posting from our buddy Bill Griggs? He has some new high wing. It looks like indoor something. A bulldog.
A multiplex Mad Bull.
Mad Bull. That's it.
Yeah,
and it looked like it might make a nice indoor.
Yeah, I think any of the flat foamies like that are also good candidates. Bill has designs on doing 4D flying with it. So I believe he already bought a reverse thrust set.
So I was just thinking, one of the things I'd really like to have is those indoor pattern planes that fly really, really, really slow and can do the reversing and stuff. The ones that like defy physics and gravity when you see them fly.
Yeah, I've flown one of those before. It's really cool.
I need to find out where to get one. So Lee's putting up some pictures from the indoor flying session. There's me and my multiplex Challenger pre-light incident. and so you can see one of the reasons why we had some issues. They were setting up some sort of party was going to happen later in the day. So they had all these tables that are normally not there. And so the tables were A, robbing us of some flying space, and B, funneling people around near us. And so we had this narrow strip to take off and landing while people were walking around and things. It was just a little more busy than we've never seen it that quite set up that way. It's just a bad timing on our part. And you can see parts, and you see the old shuttle trainers, stuff from NASA. It's a nice little museum. If you're ever in the Houston area, South Houston, the Lone Star Flight Museum, there's a B-25. They offer rides too. You can pay for rides in, I believe, the B-25, a PT, was it 17? The Stearman, I'm sorry, it's a Stearman and something else. It was a third plane. Can't remember what it is. They used to offer rides in B-17, but they no longer have it. And there's some planes there's a Night Vapor, I think that's a Timber as well, right? Is that yours?
Yep, that's these are mine. So it's the Mini Vapor, the Timber, and my Champ S Plus.
Ah, yes. And you see the top left corner is a little Starship Enterprise
Oh, yeah, there it is.
drone I got when I was in Florida. One of my family members gave it to me and said, "Here, have this." And I said, "Yeah." You don't have to ask me twice.
What do you get for the guy who has everything?
Everything. And I got to tell you, it was super cool. We have a video. I could try to play it if you want me to try, Fitz. But I have a video that I did of Fitz flying that thing, and it is spectacular.
Yes, it flies a lot better than I would ever thought it did. It's very stable. I mean, it doesn't go very fast. You move in one direction and it kind of goes, "No, okay, I'll go over here." But it's just neat to see it fly, and it's USS Enterprise, a refit from the motion picture in the 80s movies. And it's got it's basically a quadcopter in the main hull that's grid lined, but it's balanced enough that it flies pretty good. It's got lights on it. And the transmitter itself has sound effects. So you press a button, and
It is so cool.
It's got the warp drive and the phasers and that kind of stuff. It's really, really neat. That was.
And I just know you were making your own sound effects while you were flying too.
But of course, 213 Mach 9.
Just like that.
I've given you all she's got, Captain. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can see it flying around here. You go to the YouTube video if you're listening to this, you can see it fly. It did pretty well. It's got decent enough power to stay in the air, and it's real stable. And you can kind of just fly around and.
I think what they need to do is get Fitz over to the Space Center Houston. Have him fly that in the lobby. That'll wow people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of Star Trek fans over at Space Center.
Yeah. Well, Curtis commented that Air Tractor will also fly on 2 cells. So, yeah, good luck with that. Hopefully that works out for you in the space you have, and to slow it down and lighten it up a little.
And that's the light he hit.
Oh, yeah. Those 2 things come pretty far.
It was funny watching the light sway to a bit as after I hit it. It's kind of just rocking.
Yeah.
Dang it!
All right.
Yeah. So thanks to the Lone Star Flight Museum for letting us do that. Really great. It's always a treat to go there and see what new stuff they have hanging around. They had a few new planes that we oogled at, and that's that.
All right.
That's for you, Fitz.
Yeah, decloaks out of nowhere. A bird of prey.
If they make a bird of prey one, let me know. We'll fly together.
Kapla!
All right. Well, let's look at the calendar a little bit. So last Friday was Black Friday. That makes Monday, Cyber Monday. Mm-hmm. And then Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. And that applies to what's been going on up here recently, because my RC club up here has been the recipient of 2 very generous donations lately. One was 6 airplane kits. Well, actually 5 kits
6?
and 1 box of balsa. Yeah, this lady reached out to a member of our club, and her husband used to be into RC planes, and he passed away a few years ago, and she had some of his stuff sitting in storage. And so she said, can you come get these airplanes? So we were assuming it was 6 like built, ready to fly airplanes. So the guy who was going to get it called me up and said, help me out over here to haul all this stuff. And we showed up and they wheeled out 6 kit boxes. So we're like, oh, great. This is actually easier for us. So it's some neat stuff and it's pretty old. Let me try to remember what it all is. One is, do you remember the old Tower Halby's box of balsa? Just an assortment of balsa sheets and sticks and yeah. So got one of those that looks to be untampered with. There was a Goldberg Electra. The construction had been started on that, but it's mostly there. The only thing that was missing is the little plastic canopy that goes over the battery. But the brush motor and 8.4 nylon prop and the spinner, they were all in there. So there was that. A Sterling Tri-Pacer kit. So for, I think, 20 size engine. And a SIG PT-19 kit. And a Royal kit for a Cessna 310. And what am I missing? I think that's 5. Yeah, there was some neat stuff in there. And so go ahead.
Well, I guess you're going to go to it. Go ahead.
So our plan with this stuff is we're going to sell it, and all the funds go to the club to help us with the stuff we do. And I posted some of the stuff on our Facebook page, Green Bay Model Airplane Club. Right now, we're just opening it up to locals, and we'll give them about a week, and then whatever's left after that, we'll put on like probably RC groups and offer shipping on it. So yeah, that's some neat stuff, and I think it's going to end up benefiting the club a lot. Oh, there you go. You brought it up. So there's the Electra, the Tri-Pacer, the box of balsa, and what's the next image? Oh, a Great Plains Cherokee 40. Then that middle box is the Cessna 310, and then the PT-19. So speaking of that PT-19, Tony, who's on here with us now, he's so good with these vintage kits. I had posted a picture of it, and when I unpacked it to make sure everything was there, I saw a set of tail feathers that were built and covered. And so I just assumed those were the kit pieces. So I put in the description that the tail feathers had been started, and it was included in the picture. And then right after I posted that, Tony messaged me. He's like, I don't think those are from that kit. Those look like tail feathers. Now I looked at it like, oh, wow, I think he's right. So I went and then looked at the plans and saw the part numbers, found those part numbers on the sheets of balsa that were still in the kit. I'm like, so somebody just stuffed some extra parts in there. So that clarified things, and B, I think it made the kit more valuable because now it's an unstarted kit that's complete. So that was neat to find. So my point is, we've got these kits that are for sale. And then on top of that, another person locally who I think he himself used to fly but doesn't anymore, he donated a whole stash of stuff, like 15 flyable airplanes to us. These were all electric foamies. And most of them are bind and fly, but a whole bunch of stuff, some really neat things in there too. I didn't even realize that Durafly made a monocoupe model, like a little park flyer size monocoupe thing. Yeah. So yeah, it looks pretty cool. And is there a windstorm going on? Do you guys hear that too? It sounds like really pink noisy or white noisy. Huh, okay, maybe it's just me. The voices are finally
the glue is hit.
Time for a bump.
Delayed reaction.
Yeah. Anyway, so same thing. I just right before we started here, I posted those foamies on the Model Airplane page, my Green Bay Model Airplane Club page, for local stale, and then we'll see what's left after a few days or a week. Those are a little bit tougher to ship because they're complete models, so those might stay local the whole time. But regardless, the point of all this is to say we've been the benefactors of some really generous people lately, and I do appreciate it, and that's nice. And the third example of that is this happened last week, and I received an email from someone who listens to our show, and they also listen to RC Plane Lab. And the email was to me and Ron Hull. So we had talked about on our last show and also the last episode of Plane Lab probably 2 episodes ago now, when Ron was up here and we were doing boat stuff. And the email came from somebody whose company had some boats that they bought for some purpose. And I'm being intentionally vague here because they asked us to be. But these boats were bought 15 years ago and they weren't being used anymore. And they said, hey, do you want them? And Ron and I both said, yeah, not really knowing exactly what they were. But we're like, yeah, that sounds good. We'll do something with them. And it turns out that all this stuff was located not far from where my son lives. And he was about to come here for Thanksgiving. So we were able to have my son go down and retrieve this stuff. And he brought it with him when he was here last week. And boy, oh boy, he has like a small SUV. This stuff almost filled the back of that SUV. So we did not know what we were in for. And it's pretty cool. So there were 3 different boats that ranged in size, kind of small, medium, large. And I've got the medium and the large one here. I'm going to show you what they are and see if you can figure it out.
So there were 3 boats total.
3 boats total. Yep.
Okay.
Here's the
Wait
first
a minute,
one.
3 boats total that filled up his car?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Okay,
right.
yeah.
The first one is a half-scale Titanic.
There's going to be some groaning and popping as I pick this up.
First one is a 2/3 scale Yamato. Wow.
So there's one
Interesting
catamaran.
drive system on there.
You can see
Yeah.
2 shrouded propellers back here. A handle on top to pick it up. Notice that the middle part there is kind of...
Is that where you strap in the baby?
You could.
Was it made out? Is it carbon or
Okay,
something?
hold on. I gotta interrupt.
Fiberglass.
I gotta interrupt. If anybody's watching and has seen this, chime in. Like if you've ever seen one of these things, I'd be curious.
Right.
I have never seen anything like that before.
That's where I'm coming from. And apparently this is a whole genre of boats that I was unaware of. And I'm just now starting to get a glimpse of it because they're all 3 the same thing, just different variations on the theme. So there's this one. This is the large one. And I can't guess what the weight
Okay, is it really that heavy or are you joking?
No, it's like 30 something pounds, I'm sure.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah, it's a big, heavy monster.
Okay,
Don't pull
it sounds like
anything.
you're gonna break something in your body.
Probably did. Oh, okay.
Could you please stop that groaning? Holy smokes, man.
No, I can't.
This is
I'm out of shape. All right, so now I'll get the medium one, which is less groany. And here we go. Same basic design. It's a catamaran that has shrouded drives. This one actually has forward propulsion here, and then there's reverse propulsion that comes out of
It's
here.
like that one looks more like a pump drive instead of the shrouded, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they are, like pumps that one for each direction on each side. And steering on both of these is differential thrust. But also notice that on the top side here, the same compartments go in here. This is
The
dual
compartment in the middle?
compartments. There was a single compartment.
Can you show the label?
Yeah, sure. Actually, no, because that's going to cut into what I'm about to tell you. I don't want no spoilers yet. I'll show you at the end. And then the third one is very similar to this, a little bit smaller, and it actually comes in a backpack and has the transmitter and the boat in the backpack so you can haul it off. So what these are called are bait boats.
For fishing, huh?
Yeah, so that's the idea. These came from France, and apparently in Europe.
We are from France.
So please correct me if I'm wrong about this, but apparently carp fishing is a big deal in Europe, where my experience with carp is they're a nuisance fish and you try not to catch them. But over in Europe, maybe it's a different kind of carp.
Delicacy over in Europe.
I don't know, but they get big and you're after hooking these monster carp. And what they do is they fill these troughs in the middle of the boats with some kind of carp food. I guess it's like chum or something. I don't really know.
Carp chow.
And then the bottoms of these, some of these are, I think it's the other one that's got magnets. This one's servo driven. But basically the bottom door drops out so you can drive the boat out and then drop the food out where you want it. And you can buy GPS units for these where they're automated to go where you want.
I was thinking about autonomous operations and something like that.
You can get sonar and fish finders and have relay back to your transmitter, so you can.
dang.
Yeah, it gets really.
See, all I want is the one that you drop dynamite and you just get 8
Yeah,
at one
depth charges.
8 carp. Yeah, 8 carp with one single shot. I've hit my limit.
I think you get the boat too. So anyway, and on this one you can see the little compartments. Hard to see. Compartments go up here. The batteries go inside here. And interestingly, it has Tamiya plugs on it. Yeah.
Those French.
Yeah. And
La,
speaking
La Tamiya.
La
plugs.
Tamiya. Ooh la la.
and speaking of being from Europe, check out this whip antenna. The other boat had a 35 megahertz radio. This one has a 40 megahertz radio. The backpack one also has a 40 megahertz radio.
Oh, so they'd come from Europe. Yeah, it's a European frequency.
Yeah, for real. So I need to see if they're even legal to use here. I don't think there have been any interference issues, but what is 40 megahertz allocated to over here? Any idea?
I don't know. I had to look at the spectrum allocation.
All right, so all our ham listeners out there, let me know. But I've fired these things up. They work. A lot of the batteries are shot. The big one uses 3-cell 5,000 milliamp hour packs, 2 of them, one on each side. Everything works. They have 2-stick transmitters. So I think you just use a single stick to drive them. I can't remember. And then certain stick movements drop the doors. So real simple. I would test them out on the lake, but the lake hath frozen over.
It is frozen.
I have a hockey rink out back now. But the big one's going to Ron. I'm going to see Ron. We're planning to meet up in a few weeks at a swap meet down in Beloit, Wisconsin. So I'm going to hand it off to him then. And I haven't decided which one I'm going to keep. What I'm thinking, it'll make a neat rescue boat because I'm sure these things aren't fast, but they should be very precise and go just about anywhere with the shrouded props. So maybe with an FPV camera, as Lee has demonstrated, they would be good retrieval boats. Or I keep talking about wanting to build a submarine so I can explore the bottom of this clear lake. Maybe I can rig it to have like a submarine or a camera on a tether below the boat, and I can navigate that way. Does that seem like solid science?
Science is not the word I was going to use.
Okay. What's the word you would use?
I think Fitz is looking at 40 megahertz.
Yeah, apparently is using a ham for a ham radio person. You think I would know that? But it's
Well, I know 50 megahertz is because I had 50 megahertz radios.
yeah, this is 50, but I guess 40 is just not common. It's used over in Europe quite a bit, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, license up to 400 watts.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
And
What about 35 megahertz?
I don't know.
All right, doesn't matter.
Probably a longer band. I had to look that up. Maybe is that 10 meter or something? 35 megahertz.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I just thought these were really interesting pieces. If our benefactors out there listening, thank you very much. It's going to be cool stuff. We're going to make use of it. I'm not sure exactly how yet, but it's just a solid platform with lots of potential, and we'll figure out how to make the most of it. So,
Yeah, I think 35 megahertz was used in England, right, for RC model
maybe
stuff.
I don't know.
I think yeah.
Beats me.
Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. My son came here the day before Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving Day the lake started freezing over, and so I'm like, darn it, I missed the opportunity to try these things out. But you know, I can run them in the shop and make sure they work. And then when spring comes, I'll jump out there and oh, look at this! I just figured out that this has a handle. It pops.
Well, it kind of pulls up. Neat.
Yeah. All right. Just figured that out on the fly. All right. So let's wrap this part up with to all those people that have been in a giving mood lately. Thank you for your kits. Thank you for your airplanes. Thank you for your boats. I do appreciate it. And we'll try to make the most of your contributions. So I guess that's it. Time to move on. What do you guys have?
Go ahead, Fitz.
Oh yeah, give it to me.
I
don't remember. We had a short list, didn't we? And I don't remember what happened to it.
No, it's workbench time. It's whatever you want to talk about.
Workbench? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it morphed into Workbench.
If you're busy, I can start up.
No. Well, I mentioned before, I've got on the Workbench this. I don't know if you can see it. The Seagull models via Legend Hobby RV8 Old Crow. This is actually basically ready to fly. Just a little minor tweaks, and it's got the 40cc twin Stinger engine in it, and I was running it up a little earlier today, making sure it runs. It's actually the engine that came out of my shock cub, because I replaced the engine in the shock cub with something else, but it hadn't been running a while, and when it first cranked up, it was a little cantankerous, because it's, I don't know, just hasn't been running a while. So that's something I will be doing a review on my channel sometime in the not too distant future. And it's been a neat build, got some cool stuff on it, including a smoke system, which works. So it's got a nice smoker. I picked up some smoke fluid the other day, so I'm ready to go. Not sure what else I have. Should I talk about review stuff I'm working on? You guys
I was
care?
gonna say, can you talk about the new expensive thingy you got?
Expensive thingy?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to
the
be
handheld thingy?
Yes, that thing.
Yes.
Is that right there? Yeah, that thing.
Yes, this is
It's
it.
gotta just being safe here. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it was being charged. So I've got a new transmitter. I've got the new IX14 Spectrum. I don't know if it's in focus or not.
Plus.
First IX14 Plus. Yeah, this is a new Plus version. The first IX I have owned. I've played with an IX20, somebody else's a little bit, but now I actually have one. I'm going from a NX series, an NX10 and NX6 I have. So this is nice to be able to have more channels and a touch screen, finally. And so I've been playing around with it. In fact, I was setting it up with the RV, and I decided to do some odd mixings with it as well, just to kind of get a feel for the system. And it's interesting. It's a little bit of a change in how things work on the radio and getting used to certain nuances. I think, Terry, you have an IX something.
Wait till you get your hands on a Radio Master.
Oh, you're muted,
You're
Terry?
muted, Terry. You're still muted, Terry.
There you go.
I have an IX12.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I have to look at the difference between this and the 12. I think
Well,
they
the
make some
12's
tweaks.
discontinued, so
Oh, okay. So
that's that.
the biggest thing to get used to is you got to let it boot up.
It's pretty quick though, right? The 12's slow, but I thought the new generation of IXs were much faster.
This one takes about 30 seconds
Oh, okay.
before it's usable.
Mine's 2 minutes plus.
Oh, okay. No, it's nowhere near that long, but there is some time. And in fact, I thought something was wrong with the software because I turned it on, and I get the first splash screen of the Android stuff is, oh, okay, it's ready. And I try to get into the airware, and it's giving me like software error. Like, wait, what? And what happened is I wasn't waiting long enough. If you wait another 10 seconds, it automatically boots into the radio part, the airware function. So I was just trying to rush it and getting errors. So, but so far it's been pretty good, and no issue. Just getting used to the operating system and how things are done a little differently, and the menus are moved around. But it's got a lot more features and functionality. So it's not just more channels. The actual software, the mixing, and that kind of stuff it has more functionality. It's neat to have. Say, for example, you can adjust the servo speeds in both directions. You can really tweak with the exponential curves and that kind of stuff. You can actually have opposite exponential curves on the same channel, so you can deaden one end of the movement and increase the throw on the other end. It's just really interesting to see the actual features and the stuff they've really added. So it's a lot more functionality to it. So I'll be doing a review on this for Model Aviation magazine and
Do
a
me
short
favor,
video.
Fritz. Keep
Yeah.
holding the radio like that, and now stand up very slowly until I tell you to stop. Stop. You sell out. You're a radio.
That's
whore.
great.
Those
It's an old jacket. I needed something.
wearing a Futaba jacket as he praises his Spectrum IX14. So, so
Hey, I don't judge.
that was joke. Yeah. This will rehash a little bit of what I talked about on Plane Lab recently. But when I got my iX12, we talked about it on here a little bit because that Android operating system was the new thing, right? And
Yeah.
we kind of pondered the question of how is having Android in our radio going to change, A, kind of how we look at radios, and B, what we use them for. So now, what's it been, 5 years maybe, 4 or 5 years? That far down the road with this experience hasn't really had any impact on the kind of the fundamental uses of transmitters. Like, are you texting your wife that you're about to come home through your transmitter, or do you still pull your cell phone out of your pocket?
I still pull the cell phone out of the pocket. And it's interesting, they are segregated in the sense that the Android operating system and the actual, what they call airware is the actual functionality of the transmitter as an RC transmitter. And they're almost, I don't know, one's a virtual machine or whatever, how they do it. So I guess if your Android goes wonky, it doesn't interrupt with you actually have to actively switch between the two modes. And I think the Android stuff is running in the background. You can read your emails. I connected it to the Wi-Fi and it popped up and logged in, and you can look at web pages. Oh, it's a little, the screen is kind of small for looking at web pages, but you can download it up, the Spectrum website and some other stuff. And you can go into the Android Play Store and get updates for the transmitter as well and that kind of stuff. So it does add to some functionality to it. Again, I've just started, so I don't know how much I'm really going to use the Android part. But, and there's also a manual. It's funny, I looked at it, it's like, the manual's like this little leaflet. It's like, it can't be right. And you go in and say, no, the manual's actually, there's a PDF file in the transmitter. So if you need the manual, you just call it up with Adobe Acrobat Reader built into the transmitter. And you search for keywords and that kind of stuff. So you've always got the manual with you with the transmitter. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm not trying to disparage the Android thing, but I just haven't seen evidence yet that it's groundbreaking. It's just kind of a different thing. That I guess some people probably do choose to use those added features that it provides, but for me at least, I don't think my experience is much different than if it did not have Android.
Yeah, it's probably a nice to have, but not critical or even essential to it.
Yeah, whatever advantages it offers, I'm not taking advantage of.
Yeah,
So.
like I said, I just got it, so I'm going to play around with it and see what it really offers, if it's anything of interest, and what you can do with it. But yeah, those things. One other thing is, I'm making headway on my latest endeavor.
Box of
3D printed airplane parts, the Brewster Buffalo.
Oh, cool.
So I've actually gotten most of the parts now printed out here. These are the wing parts.
Lightweight PLA.
Yeah, LWPLA.
Supposed to be Starved Horse finish on it?
I'm sorry?
Is it supposed to have the Starved Horse look on the wing?
Star Force.
Starved Horse, like fabric over rib.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a starved horse. I used their settings, and I guess you noticed that. It's a one-wall LWPLA, and it looks like a sort of starved horse-ish. Extra walls help reduce that, but also increase the weight. Okay. So I said, well, I'll just go with this for now. It's not terrible. Most of the starved horse seem to be on the bottom, which you're not going to see anyways.
Well, I couldn't tell I didn't know if that was a design feature. I was trying to remember if the Buffalo had any fabric-covered wing panels.
I don't know. No, it looks metal. It's got rivet details and stuff on it. It's actually got some nice details. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe a different color might help. There's the wings. Here's the fuselage, and maybe you can see a little better.
Oh, yeah. That looks nice.
Rivets. Yeah, it's really good details. And this is, I'll have to give you the link if people are curious who makes this, because this is a new company. And stupid me forgot the name. Blanchero? Does that sound familiar? Blancalerio?
No,
that's not Blancalerio. That's that YouTuber.
Yeah, that was your incorrect guess last time you talked about it.
You think I would? Well, hold on. Let me look it up, because I feel bad. I can never. I'm terrible. I'm so terrible at names. My brain is defective. Let me look it up real quick. List.
while you're looking that up, I want to point out that Rodney Marshall said that he thinks 40 megahertz is a DoD frequency, and if you use it, it's what is that, $10,000 fine? So,
I think I think the 40 megahertz band is actually pretty wide, so it depends which particular frequencies you're using. I think there's a few frequencies allocated for ham use, but yeah, I think the other part is probably military.
yeah, so I should look into that before I start turning these things on.
Yeah, because some of the band's a little wide. Come on. Okay, so I found it. I'll put it in the chat. Oh, I can't. Oh, I'm not logged in. I don't think I can put it in the chat. I'll put it in our personal chat, and Lee, maybe you can cross post it.
Sure. I know I included the link the last time you talked about it, so I can copy and paste that.
So, but for those listening, I will tell the name. Give me a second.
Michael said Bastillero. Is that it?
Yes, it's Bastillero. Bastillero. Yeah, Bastillero.com.
I just posted it.
Okay. And they got a couple different planes. They got a Mach-E, Italian Mach-E MC200 and a P-47. They have pilots and really, really nice details. I'm looking forward to flying this thing. You know, a Brewster Buffalo is not, the most glamorous of all the warbirds, but it is something very unusual to see in model form.
Yeah, it's got history.
Yeah, a lot of history. Apparently there were several aces in the Buffaloes. There was one or two New Zealanders that were aces, and I think a European.
But the Finnish liked them.
Yeah, I think it was Finley. Yeah, somewhere in Europe that flew them.
I assume they were using them against the Russians, so maybe Polikarpovs or something. I don't know.
Polikarpovs, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So I don't want to get too deep into this segue, or this different topic, but the Brewster Company is kind of interesting to read about. They had decent airplane designers, but they were apparently just incredibly poorly managed. And even stuff that they had contracts of building other designers' planes, it was just a disaster. And so it wasn't necessarily because they don't know how to design airplanes. They did not have good business sense. So, yeah, at least that's what I've read. I should dig more into that.
Oh, speaking of reading, I've finally gotten around to start reading through the Flying Old Planes book.
Oh yeah, neat airplane.
Yeah, I kind of had forgotten about it. I got in and I started going through it. Guy has a really good prose. He's real fun to read, and it's just fascinating. I'm still in the early World War I stuff that he's flying. I think I got up to the Sopwith Camel was the last one I got up to.
So if I remember the premise, this was probably written in the 60s or 70s, but
I think late 60s.
Okay, the author goes and flies airworthy examples of these old airplanes and just kind of talks about what it's like to get in the cockpit of these things.
Many cases he bought them, he flew for apparently film industry.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff.
Was it Paul Mantz who wrote that thing?
Don't ask me those questions.
All right, somebody
guy.
listening. Yeah, somebody famous.
It is really interesting. Some of those planes were dangerously under-controllable. I think the Blériot he mentioned, he had several scares in it because it just wouldn't respond to controls unless you really got really aggressive, like full aileron, it had full wing warping, full rudder, full elevator. It would just barely, move its way over, and don't fly to anything over in 5 mile per hour winds, that kind of stuff. It was just
right. And it's Frank Tallman.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. So, and while we're on that topic, I'll reiterate the show that I talked about last time. It's the one with Neil Armstrong that also flies old planes. I think it goes all the way up through Korean War stuff. So in the last episode I saw, which might be the last episode, they were flying an F-86 and a Vampire.
Oh,
so it's called First Flights. And so
I found it on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, neat stuff out there.
I think I watched the first episode. It's pretty neat. It's just amazing. These guys flew these planes that were barely planes, barely powered, barely controllable, barely held together.
Yeah. Did I talk about this already? Stop me if I'm going down a path I've already treaded on. So I finished reading a book recently about Harriet Quimby. She was the first licensed female pilot in the U.S. And so this would have been, I think, 1910 or 1911 when she got her license. And she flew a Blériot. And throughout the book, they talk about a large number of people who died in that era, not so much because they crashed, but because they got thrown out of the airplane, like a little negative G per turbulence.
Oh my gosh.
They go flying out.
The crazy seatbelt things, huh?
They didn't exist yet, or not many planes did. And then it was optional, I guess, if you wore them. And then, ironically enough, Harriet Quimby was giving someone a ride in a two-place Blériot. By the way, I didn't know they had two-seat Blériots, but that was a very...
It's not like it carries that much weight.
Yeah, and
The super Blériot, huh?
and if you've seen the Blériot, the engine's like right at the leading edge of the wing. So where people sit really has a big effect on CG. And apparently there was a big guy in the back seat, which was fine. But what happened was the guy got thrown out. And then, of course, the plane became uncontrollable because it was super nose heavy. And then she got thrown out. And then the airplane just kind of flew itself down to the ground and had very little damage. But both Harriet and the passenger died. But the prevailing theory that I read about in the book was that he had either shifted forward to try to talk to her or turned around to see something. He moved enough that he shifted the CG and caused whatever happened. And
Oh, wow.
no seatbelt, he's out. And,
Good Lord.
Oh,
So-
man.
That's very
Yes.
uplifting. Thank you for the happy story, Terry.
uplifting. I see what you did there. Clever. So anyway, I'd be curious to know when they started implementing seatbelts in airplanes, because how many people have to fall out of an airplane? Not an inverted airplane, but an upright airplane.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And especially in something like a Blériot, you're not in it, you're on it. The seat's kind of perched up on top of the structure.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's, what do they say? Checklists are written in blood. That's, I guess,
Yeah,
examples of that. So, okay. Somebody else talk about something.
Well, we're talking workbenches. Lee, I guess it's your turn.
Tell me
Okay.
all about Bombay doors. I just can't wait.
Or gear doors.
For another day.
Ah,
Without further ado, because I think Terry will appreciate this. Hopefully you all can hear me. I will give myself the screen. Unboxing.
all right. You know
You
what's
hear me
in there.
okay? You do? Oh. All right, well then this is for the viewers.
Oh,
So,
I don't know what's in it. I'm saying you know what's in it, so it's not a
Oh,
surprise to you.
Well, I hope it's. I haven't opened the box. Let's hope what I ordered is in it. As you guys are aware, I look at estate sales. We've talked about this in the past, but if you're new to the show, something I like to get, and I think all three of us have benefited from that because I've found stuff for Fitz, and Terry's picked up stuff for me. So this time around, I found an estate where it appeared to be an older AMA member. Probably passed away, probably hadn't been a member for 5 or so years. I think he was in his 90s. And he had a pretty good collection. And I'm going to go ahead and share this screen because I think I've already talked to you guys about it, or at least... do I have the window open? Come on, buddy. There you go. So, did I tell you about these,
Oh,
Terry?
yes, you did. But I thought you were not the one buying them.
I wasn't, so I'll quickly touch on that. So in this estate sale, I found these radios, and there were also some Micro Pro 8000 in here.
What
And-
radios are they, Lee?
Well, they're just old radios. Okay, I don't know anything about the Pro line
Well,
personally.
the single
They're
stick.
Okay, you do the descriptive stuff. Anyway, so I've had like 4 lots in this estate sale that I wanted, and I was going to bid on. I called a friend of mine, and should I tell him now or wait till hopefully we get him on the show?
Let's see if we can get them on the show.
All right. Called a friend of mine who likes radios, and I showed him the lots, and he goes, I want this lot. I said, well, you bid on this lot. I'm going to bid on the other stuff, so you can't bid on that stuff. And I lost 3 of my lots. He got all of his lots. So he is now the proud owner of these radios at a sick price. I was frustrated I didn't get my other ones, but I got this one. This is the cheapest of the lots. Okay, I paid $4 for what's in this box. So here we go, guys.
Hold on. How much was shipping?
We'll talk about that after I open the box. That's the sad story. So, but what's in here only cost me $4, and then like with tax it was like $4.82 or something. I don't know. Yeah. And by the way, Fitz, we've always talked about this. Be careful, guys, when you guys get stuff online at these auction houses. The buyer's fee, some can be crazy. Don't do. I'd be very careful about bidding on one that's a 15%. That's about as high as you want to go. But Fitz and I were looking at one that was 20 or 22%. Like, what the hell?
That's a robbery.
Okay. So hey, the good news is the little packing ship here. Nice pink letters, thank you. So, you know, when they write thank you on the note, that means they probably packed it well. So, why did I get this? Well, I have kids, and I figured I need to start giving them their own tools so they don't keep stealing mine. But this guy had, there's 3 in here. So, what I needed were these little socks, these little iron socks. Okay, this is part of the lot. They're little hot socks. And I'm actually finishing my Malibu right now as we speak. In fact, it'll be done tomorrow. So I'm covering the wing. These socks are great if you haven't used socks for your ironing, if you've never covered in monocoat or any or cover, whatever. But highly recommend these socks, and a little drawstring that pulls them. So right here, these socks are about $15 a piece. I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
So depending on where you buy them, sometimes they're you can get them as low as $9.99, but they're not cheap. You don't buy these for $2. So they're pretty expensive. So right off the bat, I got my money back. But, they wrapped it. I was just curious if they put anything else in there. Did I get anybody else's stuff? Oh, they did. They taped it.
The last time I bought hot socks, probably would have been at least 10 years ago. I want to say some guy was making them like in a garage business, and his wife sewed them using t-shirt material.
That's what I've been using that. That's like the thing I've been doing is I take the kids' old T-shirts, I pull them tight, zip tie them to the handle, and that's it. It works great. But, I was like, I like that.
So I've used baby socks in the past.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little baby booties.
Yeah,
All
go
right,
to Walmart, grab a package of them.
So does that mean if your baby needs socks, you can take the cover off your iron? And
Yeah, that's expensive.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's brand new, man.
Which brand is it?
Hobbico.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, because it was blurry.
But look at, but you can't. I mean, it's very nice,
good.
very clean. So, something I can give the kids for Christmas. They're not watching this, so they'll never know. But I'll give this to Austin, so he won't steal mine. Yeah. But so $4. Okay, that's a sweet deal, right?
Yeah,
now ask me for shipping.
Yeah. How much did it cost to get that amazing deal to your doorstep?
It's just like,
Well, no, let's guess. $29.
Fitz?
$20. It can't be that much to ship that.
Fitz wins. It's $21.
Okay.
But dang, it's like you gotta. Again, PSA, folks. I mean, I'm glad I got it. I'm not. I mean, I probably would have paid $20 if this was at a swap meet. If they had all these parts together. So I'm not disappointed. So total, I'm $25 out.
Which is not bad at all.
No,
Which is not bad. Yeah, I mean, for getting an iron, which by the way, it's hard to find irons these days.
Well, Horizon offers them again. You can buy a new iron off the shelf from Horizon Hobby, but it's a digital, which I don't know if it's better or not. But yeah, the form factor is the same, but instead of the knob, it's got a digital input on top. And apparently their original use is for applying laminate wood to, I don't know, furniture or something, but it was like a woodworker's tool, and they've adapted it for RC hobbyists. So are you looking up the link right now, Fitz?
He is.
I'm looking it up, yeah.
If you see it, share the screen. But I want to say they were like $50. I might be making that part up too. Well,
Is it Horizon or?
Yeah, I think it's Horizon. Maybe a Hanger 9 product. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I saw it online too.
Oh, I see it. Wait,
But nothing
digital
like the old
sealing iron?
school.
Actually, they're on sale on clearance.
For how much?
That was short-lived.
For how
crap.
much? Don't say
$30.
$4.
30, no, 34.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to share screen?
Yeah, if you
You
don't mind.
can't. Well, yeah, you can. We can just pull it up.
Again, let's see. Present, share screen.
How many stars? Well, I still have my Top Flight, iron. I've had for years.
Yeah.
Works fine.
Yeah, I've got a bundle of them here that I've got my favorite one that I use, but I've got some backups just in case.
Do you see it? Oh.
I also have some of the fine ones, the real small tips, for curves and stuff. So and one that's got a flat blade. I think it actually has multiple tips. So yeah, I like the little tiny ones too.
Am I sharing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I gotta get it up here. Add a stage. There you go.
There you go. Interesting. Got a digital. That's pretty snazzy.
Clearance.
Yeah, it's on clearance. So it looks like they may get them while you can, because it looks like they may be no longer.
Are there any reviews? Is it 5 stars? I was curious if is anybody here in the
One review, 5-star. Nice iron. Works very well. Temperature is very consistent.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point.
But I guess the good news here, because it was adapted from other uses, I think I just glanced on Amazon here. You can still get it as a veneer tool. The price is more. I'm seeing them $80, $90, $60. They all appear to be the same thing. So, yeah.
Looks like it was dropped from $60 to.
And here's a trim iron version for $20.
I have a couple of different trim irons already, but I might try to pick this up for.
You didn't ask
backup.
about the other stuff I didn't get.
Well, I thought it was more radios. Is that not it?
No, that was his. No, I didn't bid on any of the radios.
Oh, I see.
He
Okay.
won the radios. I was looking at some boxes of just parts and stuff. I figured that would be a good show and tell, unboxing. But I didn't win any of those. I kept getting sniped, and I was like at the point going, do I really need to spend $20+ on this? There was a box of servos, but 2 of the servos actually had the letters NG on them. What does that mean to you?
NG,
good.
Nancy Golf.
NG, not good. Thank you. Fitz nailed it. So I was like, all right, is this a box of no good servos? I was like, I didn't want to bid on it. There was lots of parts in there. And
like
there was-
handwritten.
yeah, handwritten on the spec.
I see.
And so, I mean, I like the idea of getting stuff like that. We've always had fun doing it, but I got to that threshold of $20 to buy something I didn't know. I got burned once when I lost everything. So, well, not everything, but half of it. Yeah. And this one turned out good. So, and it was shipped pretty quickly, but their shipping and handling on top was $10. So the shipping was really only $11. Yeah. So, but look out for those things when you bid. But have fun and do that. There are some finds out there. You'd be surprised. I find a couple of lots, and in fact, I've sent some to Terry, of places. I mean, I think the one I sent you was just too far south for you, Terry. But they had planes, but it was no shipping, so you had to pick them up. Yeah. But then you say to yourself, what's going to drive all the way down there, bring them back? Where are they going to sit for 5 years until I work on them?
That is not the right attitude, but but I know you don't really think that way, so it's okay.
All right, so I'll go to my next little workshop. We're into an hour here, and I don't want to keep things rolling here, but where did I put it? Oh, there it is. So Terry was kind enough, if y'all can hear me, Terry was kind enough many years ago to give me his Fly Zone Zero that he did a review on many, many years ago.
I want it back.
Okay. So let me go full screen here so I can share this so everybody can see here. Let me scoot my screen over. So Terry, thank you. It was you did an article, I guess, was it in Model Aviation? Mm-hmm. And I think you gave it to me before you left Lubbock, right?
That's right.
So we've been flying it, and we've taken it to the Pearl Harbor event, and it definitely does fly better on 4S, which is the only way we fly it. But unfortunately, and you can kind of just tell, or you can take the nose, Ryan's been flying it, and he had a little boo-boo, and he tore the nose off, and so it just got badly damaged there, and the whole motor mount.
That's just a scuff.
Well, it's missing that whole chunk right there.
Yeah,
It's supposed to go above it. Anyway, broke the motor mount off. It's a built-in plastic piece. So Dad, talking with Fitz, put a PETG new motor mount, and this is the this is the crazy part, is that I didn't have any measurements of this. I was just eyeballing it, but I used a photo that you took. So thank you, Terry Dunn, for when you did the review, you took the canopy off, or excuse me, the nose cone, and you took a picture of the motor sitting there and the setup with your ESC there. And I just I was like holding things. I was like, it looks about right there. Okay, so I can hold the ruler right there. And I got a measurement. I think it was like 55 millimeters. And
Did you hold a ruler to your computer screen?
No, not to your no. I had the zero like right here next to the screen. And I was like, but I did, and I nailed it. That's all I want to say is like I put the motor on there. I haven't attached the motor yet, but I set it on there. Got the canopy, nose coming back on, and towel, excuse me, and it fit perfectly. So I just need to finish that. The poor little pilot figure fell out. He suffered some bruises, and I got him back in and got my canopy glue and put the piece back in. And
I think, Lee, you should clarify that you 3D printed that motor mount.
did I not say that?
No, you didn't.
ETG?
You said PET-G, but for some people who are not sure what you're talking about, you 3D printed that motor mount using PET-G filament.
This is my little lame term. I used Tinkercad to draw a box. And I made it. I'm not going to go into the fancy stuff. Look at this. By the way, another thing I'll add to this little conversation is I designed it. I printed it on my 3D printer, which I'm going to tack on in a second here. And then I talked to Fitz and asked, hey, have you ever used the plastic coat, the plastic weld? That's what they call it, plastic coat, plastic weld, to use on PETG. And I'd seen some people do it, and he said, well, give it a try. Fitz, that is just the plastic weld on the previous plastic motor mount. It ain't going anywhere. That's it. There's no epoxy or CA. No screws. That thing, I even had Ryan flail it around the workshop. It's like, he's spun it around. This thing ain't going nowhere. So, pretty darn cool. Anyway, I don't know if you can really tell, but, I just made a flat end on it and around the edge.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, so 3D printing to the rescue.
Is it just a solid block of PET-G?
No, it's walls.
Okay.
But as soon as I finished it, printing this one, I realized it had a weird curve to it. And I was like, ooh, I don't like that. There's like a weird shift, so I thought it came off the bed because PETG, you have to have a really hot bed, and I realized that my temperatures were off. I think I was still using my PLA settings. So I went back, made the adjustment, hit print, went to the workshop, came back, and saw the print head scraping the glass bed. I was so furious. And I can't really show you here, but my belt stretched and it slipped. So one arm was not moving at all, and that head just tore up my glass bead. I was very frustrated. I said a couple of words that probably were not proper, but it's not too bad. But what I wanted to say is, I got new belts in today, and I told you guys that they recommend replacing every belt and probably doing it every year with a Delta printer, because I guess it's just how much movement it does. It's a lot of weight. And I just turned around and printed a little test cube, and I'm back in business with PETG.
So if you have to replace those belts every year, what's the maintenance cost for that?
Well, it took some time, but I think I could really do it much faster. And in a way, it's probably a good thing because you really want to check all the arms. I can't really show you the picture here, but there are 6 arms that go around the head and tie to the rails, the vertical rails. So you really should check them, clean them up, and so forth. So it's good maintenance. But the belt material was only $12.
Okay, not bad.
And I went ahead and bought an extra bag, so I'm good to go. And I will say, getting to the motors underneath was a little annoying because they have shrouds on them to keep the belt on, but it's not going to make a difference. I think it's just mainly to keep stuff from getting in it. So you have to remove the motors, and then you have to push the belt through that. That's the toughest part. Other than that, it's just little steps to make. But I'm pretty happy. I got to do some fine tuning on the acceleration because I get a little bit of a shadow, or what do they call it, delay. But I'm really happy. I'm back in printing and get to more stuff. I've got to, use that Fusion 360 or something and be a better person.
Well, if you're designing a box, why?
Yeah, but
Fusion do
I know that, but I want to do a box. I want this wow, that's the best box anyone's ever built. But anyway, so that's that. Oh, and I can't show you the other one. Never mind. I printed something up, but that's for later.
The example that is on the airplane, was that built post belt change?
Oh, it was before. Yeah, no, it was before. So it's a little wonky, but it fits. It's just a little off. I mean, that's the best part. Is like, but I started to print another one, and that's when my printer broke. So I ended up just using the other one. It's not too bad. I was like, oh, why does it look like that? But I mean, when your belt does that, I mean, that's really. And if you look real close, you could see that it stretched. Like you could see the fibers. There you go. And once you're down one, you're off.
That's interesting. I have a Delta printer. I never used it, but it was given to me by somebody. I guess that's something I'm going to have to check out on it.
Yeah. So okay, I'm not going to take the show, but I'm going to put Woodford on the spot. Do either of you use Fusion 360?
I do. I've used it a bunch of times.
Okay. So
Yeah.
tell me about it. I mean, what makes it so good? Because I've got it and I can't even wrap my head around the freaking display. It's like, where am I?
It's got a little bit of a learning curve.
I was like, I can't fit this piece of square.
Well, it's because you got to sort of start drawing in 2D a little bit, and then you can extrude the parts to make them 3D. And then there's ways of I don't want to go into here, but probably your best bet is just go to YouTube, find some. There's a couple of good.
I did. I'm watching this guy. I'm doing exactly what he does, and I'm like, I have no idea what I just did.
It'll click. You just have to start with some simple stuff, and it's just and there's some nuances to it, but it's actually a pretty neat program. I liked it because it worked. It was similar enough to like what's the other CAD programming? SolidWorks, because I played around with SolidWorks, and of course that's something you got to buy. It's real expensive. And so I wanted something that would, Fusion 360 is actually free for certain, as long as you don't do commercial.
Well, I have it. I feel like I just need to lock myself in my room and, have 8 cups of coffee and, have my printer ready to go. But and by the way, that's the same. It took me a while to learn Cura, and I've got Cura, so I'm not too afraid of it. But boy, I really feel like it's steep to learn.
Have you ever done any drafting at all in school or anything like that?
I have a pencil. And a ruler.
Okay, maybe that's why it made a little tough for you to get your head wrapped around it because, it's not pure drafting, but a lot of it is a little bit like that at the start, and then manipulating the objects once you've extruded them and just certain nuances of the thing. Just keep at it. Just keep doing. Start with really simple stuff, really simple. The box is actually pretty simple to do, and if you still have problems, next time I'm over, we can probably sit down and I can at least tell you what the little I know and help you out.
I'm going to Fitz is going to grab a ruler and smack me on the hands.
No!
Stop that!
You don't do the extrusion like that.
No soup for you. I'm reminded of this guy many years ago when Macs were the thing, and he was one of our graphic designers using Illustrator. And I'm talking, this was in the early 90s. And I went into his office one day, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but he goes, give me a second, I got to do something real quick. I mean, I swear he just he's like, look, things were flying on his screen. Things were turning around. I mean, he had these graphics, they were shifting, he got a depth, and I mean, it took him like a minute to do a whole page. I was just like, my jaw dropped. Because you just knew he had the skill. And I have to forget, I was forgetting that I bet if he ever saw me trying to program a Cisco router, he probably wouldn't understand it all because it's all text-based. So I know it's a little different, but I was just mesmerized. And that's what Fusion 360 reminds me of. It's like I'm looking at it going, all right, how did that guy do Illustrator? Because I can't even move this table, and I don't know if I'm in the 4th dimension.
So, Lee, you've done some programming, right? Computer programming?
Minor, yeah, but I mean, years ago. Most of my recent stuff in IT was router configuration.
Oh, okay.
But back in the day, I was writing BASIC, something called...
So I wonder if the program OpenSCAD might be more your speed.
Build box, start, end box.
Well, it's a kind of a scripting language, but you basically say, build box that's this size by this size by this size. And if you want a hollow box, you say, okay, build another box that's a little bit smaller and subtract, and then there you got a hollow box.
Well, I'm going to put the effort to learn Fusion 360, but the fact that Woodford says it's a learning curve, that just I don't feel so stupid. I just
No, you just got to get your head wrapped around the nuances and what is expecting you to do with it to build the objects. That's all.
Well, what is it? There was a funny joke, and maybe Terry, you remember this, but the missile knows where it is because it knows where it isn't. I feel like use Fusion 360, you have to go backwards. You have to think backwards to the forward spot. Like, let's start from the empty space and work our way out. And I'm just I'm not that direction.
Yeah, it's kind of the point. Yeah, you start with a sketch of the outline, and then you manipulate the sketch, and then you manipulate the objects, and you go so forth. So, yeah, I think it's just a new way of thinking. But once you get your head wrapped around it, I mean, you'd probably be pretty good at it once you get the feel for it.
Well, I don't have them here, but to tack on the 3D chat here, which, by the way, I'm a big fan of. My son's a big fan of it. He's building amazing stuff. In fact, we just like, hey guys, it's just the three of us here. You talked about what you did at Embry-Riddle Fitz to make money. Like, you were working in the library, or you were doing some tutoring, right?
Yeah, working in a computer lab and Radio Shack.
Helping people. Okay, but you were helping people in the computer. So.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
So people saw. You guys saw his dorm. I'm not sharing the photo here. You guys saw a picture of his dorm. But my son has a professional 3D print set up in his dorm. I mean, he's got his thing. These people bought him a spool of TPU, I guess, and said, we need as many of these little things that you can print. Go. And they paid him. And so
nice.
he showed me this box of parts that he's made. And they just basically said, here's the spool. Go to it. And he loves it. He loves that stuff. So again, kudos to my son for doing that. But we do that. I like my Delta printer. I like it because of the height. And I'm wanting to use it more often. And I'm finally, like with the Cura situation and Pet G, how it's stringy, I think I finally tuned it well enough. I don't think there's ever a chance I'll be at 100% where I'm happy. So I'm at the 90% level of satisfaction right now, enough to get me by and get parks. But what is Fitz doing?
So you reminded, did I ever tell you about my the part I made for Dynam years ago? Made a Hawker Tempest.
Yes. You did the grill intake or something.
Yes. So the Tempest is a really nice flying model, but the intake, if you remember, a Tempest has got this big under the chin intake, radiator intake, and they just left it hollow, and it looked really weird because you get this giant hole there. And I said, well, it'd be neat to have something that looks kind of a scale-looking grill. And this is like the first 3D printer I ever built. This was really the first thing I ever designed for that printer, or one of the first things. And I just did it for myself. I said, I need to put something in there. And I posted on RC groups as, this is, it was a thread for that particular plane. It says, hey, I made this little 3D printed thing because I didn't like that big gaping hole. And I got a whole bunch of DMs like, can you make me one? Can you make me one? and I made a bunch, enough to basically pretty much offset the cost of the printer. I made so many of those things. I didn't overcharge at all. I'd actually probably undercharged for them, but I made enough of them that certainly bought a whole bunch of spools to pay for that. So it was, so a lot of people, especially in the early days when nobody had these things. And even for a couple of years after that, every once in a while I get a DM and says, hey, I found this old thread. Do you still make those? Like, yeah, I still got the file. Sure. I can ship one out to you. And I think I made one not that long ago, maybe a year or two ago. Somebody asked me a question, maybe a couple of years ago. And by that time I had much better printers where I could even do it in resin. I had more options, but that was it was a neat exercise in learning how to use the CAD software to do that. And I've done a bunch of other stuff. The grill I made with OpenSCAD, which I really liked, but I said, well, I need to use something more conventional like Fusion 360. And I tried FreeCAD, and me and FreeCAD are on a no-talking basis. So we divorced pretty quickly on that one. Although our buddy Sparky likes FreeCAD because he's crazy. He's not right, but when I found Fusion, I did a lot of cool stuff. I did some for some local guys, the B-17 cockpit interior and some other stuff.
In resin.
Yeah, in part resin, part regular filament, depending on what it was. But yeah, and that's the thing. You can go either way. You draw the part; it doesn't really matter what you print it on. And so that's the last thing I want to say is that's what I tell people when they get a 3D printer. It's one of those things that you didn't know you needed until you get one. And he's like, this is the awesome thing, but it's only half the story. Learn how to draw, even if it's simple stuff. Learn how to draw. It doesn't matter what you use. There's no ego. You can use FreeCAD or what what was that thing you
Tinkercad.
used? Tinkercad. That's it. Yes, and which is fine to get you.
I almost hear children music in the background when I'm playing with it.
Whatever works.
Where do you want to move this box? What color is
basically what it
the
is.
box? Hi, Lee. I see you want to draw a box. Can I help you draw a box?
But I've lost count the number of times that I needed something goofy and I was able to draw it up and print it out and make a part for the model. I had a guy who had a plane and he, like you, Lee, he crashed it and really just obliterated the motor mount. He says, oh, it was a kind of an intricate motor mount. He says, oh, I'm done with it. I don't want it anymore. And so he gave it to me and I went to the 3D printer, printed out a new motor mount, stuck it on there, and flew that thing for quite a while.
And you showed up at the field with it, and he's like, "Hey,
You didn't tell
know,
me
it
you
was
could
good.
fix it. Well, I was going to add that I'd sent you guys photos. I don't, anybody else here, but on our last podcast, I was sharing that I was kind of frustrated with the gear doors on my P38. I hadn't finished it yet, but I found an STL on Thingiverse of offset hinges, and there were actually about 6 or 7 designs, and I picked this one and I printed it. Fitz didn't like the fact that I printed it in PLA plus. He said, you really should try PETG, PETG, I don't know what you call it.
Something more durable. Yeah.
So I printed it in PETG and it was horrible. I mean, it was a blob of filament. I mean, it just did not. So I spent like an entire weekend changing my Cura settings, trying to figure it out. So I finally got that. I hadn't had a chance to print it yet because I was doing the motor mount for Ryan's Zero. So I will do that tonight and print those and see how well they look. And hopefully I'll start working on the gear doors for the P38. So yes, back to the PSA. 3D printers are great. I mean, Delta's good. Again, I got it for height, but boy, I tell you, the bamboo one is just, a lot of people are talking about was it X1?
Oh yeah, X1C. Yeah, I have one of those. Yeah, it's very, very nice. They're not the cheapest thing in the world, but they are basically just point and click machines. They're really intelligent, multicolor. I've had a great time with mine. Really great. Jeff just got one like 2 weeks ago or something. He's already printing up an R2D2 full scale with it, full size.
It doesn't have a huge bed though, right? Isn't it a cube?
It's big enough.
Isn't it a cube volume?
It's in pieces. You assemble it like a big puzzle.
I know, but is it like 200, 200, 200?
It's bigger than that. 250, something like that. 400.
Okay.
No, bigger than that. It's decent size. It's not huge,
Okay.
but
So,
yeah.
Mike, tell us about the bamboo P1S. I don't know that one.
that's
Is this
just one of the-
multicolored?
I think it's one of the newer ones. I don't think it's the one that's enclosed. I had to double check.
Oh. But wait, I wanted to share this. Stand by. This was important. I wanted to.
But one last thing is Christmas is coming. You can get some that are not expensive at all. Creality, some other ones make some really inexpensive ones. If you don't have one, as a hobbyist, I highly recommend you get one because even if you can't draw, you can just lots of stuff you can download for free off of sites like Thingiverse and there's Cults 3D and some other stuff. It's a really, really good library of stuff you can just pop on there. One thing I do a lot is servo mounts. I need like a weird servo mount to put in somewhere, and I'll just print one out and stick it in, and I can just glue it in and screws. I've done that to gliders and planes and all kinds of stuff. And hinges. Oh, one thing I really print a lot is when you plug in a servo to an extension, you can 3D print the little keeper things that prevents the plugs from pulling apart. And you just line the bed with a dozen or 2 dozen of them and just print a bunch of them out, and it costs like a penny each or something like that worth of filament.
all right, Lee, did you find what you're looking for?"
It won't pull up on my screen. It's just sitting here tumbling away. Let me try this. I don't think this will work, but let me try another screen. It's weird. This won't bring it up.
Well,
Okay.
nobody asked, but I use Onshape. What are you laughing at?
Nobody asked. Am I here? Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. I use Onshape, which is a web-based CAD program, and also free. And I don't know if it has any advantages over other ones, but it's fine.
Whatever works. I don't care. No.
So,
Not
and
big-
while Lee's looking for that, I want to go back up to one of Woody's comments. He says,
Oh yeah, Dan says he's got the Prusa Mark IV. I had the Prusa Mark III, and that thing's a beast as well.
yeah. All right. So Woody says he's using that for his bird. I forget what he's talking about. Maybe it was
don't know.
Fusion 3D. But his bird that he's talking about is the Bird PBY. He's building a giant Bird PBY. So most people know what a PBY is, but the Bird PBY was a one-off modification. Have you guys seen this? I'm going to share it here real quick.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that one.
Okay. Here. Oh, wait, no, I don't want slides. Trying to present. How can I never get this right? Let's see. Maybe that's the one I want. Okay, so can you see this? It's a
Something. Whoa!
it's a regular PBY Catalina, but this
Look at
guy, he
that.
added a pair of 340 horse
turboprops?
air-cooled engines. Yeah, like I think they were from a Widgeon, but he added those to the outside to get higher performance.
Oh, they're not turboprop. They're just horizontally
They're
applied.
still piston engines, but they're, I forget what the inboard radial engines are on a PBY. What are they, like 1,000 horse or 1,200 horse? And then he added
they're
these
that much.
340 horse on the outside. And yeah, made it
I'd be
a
surprised if
four-engine
the PBY engines are more than 1,000. They're probably more 800 or something like that.
could be, whatever. The point is he's got mismatched engines on there. So
That's funky.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. And if you were going to do a
It is.
PBY model, that would be a neat subject. So
Oh,
that's,
yeah, awesome model subject.
yeah, so that's what Woody's doing. And I look forward to seeing it.
Give me all the engines.
Yeah. All right, so let's stop sharing here. All right, Lee, did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, but it
Bono?
wasn't. I had to copy the image, but I bought a filament heater dryer. They call them dryers,
Dryer
but it's a
thing?
heater basically, and that has
Heater
really
dryer.
changed the quality of my prints.
I told
I
you.
guess I just have way too much moisture in my workshop or my office here. So I run the both PLA Plus and the PETG about an hour beforehand, and I've really seen a reduced amount of stringing. So if you guys are having problems with that, I can only recommend you. If anything, it heat it up before you do it. I mean, Austin bought a food dryer unit that you can put spools in and crank it up. Same premise, but what's nice about this is it'll feed, while you're printing. And I
nice.
I made an adapter. I don't know if my mouse works here, but there's a 3D printed adapter someone made to add a Bowden tube, so it's much smoother coming out of the unit. So anyway, something else I've changed on my printer.
How much was that?
Only $30.
Oh, okay.
Really? Neat.
Yeah. But what's nice is that you can put filament in there, let it heat up for a couple of hours, then put it in a bag. So that'll help it. And the next time you need it, it's already dehumidified.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining the 3D printing podcast tonight.
And cars and boats.
Don't get sassy with me.
Oh, I'm gonna get sassy with you, boy.
All right. What else do we have to talk about?
That's all I got.
I think if anybody out there listening, by the way, if we haven't said thank you for joining us on your Friday night, thank you for joining us on your Friday night. But if you have questions for us, you better start typing now, because I get the feeling that we're not hanging out too much longer. Well, since we're in a little bit of a quiet period, what?
So I want to ask. So, Mike, what's the status of the shuttle, the space shuttle?
Yes.
I mentioned you today on AMA Air. Just by the way, I work for AMA, and for those of you who aren't aware of that, and I'll also do a little AMA pitch here. Our former executive director, Chad Boudreau, has left AMA. He has moved on to another job, and I wish him the best of luck. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with him, and early in the podcast days, when we were struggling with remote ID and Rule 336, I made a personal call to Chad, and he listened to me. He paid attention, and I think because it ruffled my feathers. He said, "Hey, you want to come join AMA and help us out?" I said, "Okay." So thank you, Chad. If you listen to our show, I hope you do. But thank you for all you've done, and he's a hard worker, guys. He really did love this hobby, and he put every effort he did, and just it's time. His family's moved on. I think he became an empty nester, so he and his wife said, "Let's make some changes." So I'm wishing him the best of luck. But anyway, Mike's tuned in here, and he says slowly. But I did. One of our sponsors for AMA Air today was HSD Jets, and they put the 747. And I just had to stop and talk about Mike's shuttle carrier, and I did, and gave him credit. And so I hope to see that soon, buddy.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be neat.
I think Lee figures that if he promotes that enough, he'll get to fly the Enterprise.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Now, speaking of carrier, you saw the carrier I made, right, for my glider? Where is it? Right here?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Mr. New Laser 5,000 watt laser cutter. He's got back there.
Yeah, behold the power of the Death Star laser.
I saw your video. By the way, guys, let's do a little plug for Hobby View. Go to his YouTube channel. Go see the video on his new laser cutter. It's up there.
Yeah,
It's really
More
neat,
power.
Fitz. I enjoyed the whole show.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like it. And this, haven't had a chance to use it yet, but it came out pretty good. My Elf is on it right now. I thought it'd be neat to launch that. And I got the servos already in it, as you saw. Launch mechanisms and rubber bands. So I made it so it bolts on, the bottom bolts onto you can see the holes there. The same screws the wing bolts on with. And the
How
front
did you
just uses
curve
some
it?
rubber band. The wood is thin enough. I just glued it on, press fit it, and it curved
Oh,
itself.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's not very thin plywood. I mean, not very thick, excuse me.
So how does it release the rubber bands?
There is a servo, so I can get it here.
With a razor
Oh,
blade?
Hold on.
You see the servo right there?
Yes.
There you go. So there's a servo, and if you look closely, you can see a little metal rod.
Yep.
If I can get it right.
Yeah,
And
I see
so
it.
there's a little red
It's
rod
visible.
sticks out right here.
Yep.
And so what I do is I wrap this rubber band. Actually, it's actually supposed to come down and rest against that little rod. And so the servo pulls the rods in and releases the rubber bands.
I see.
And off it goes.
All right. Are the rubber bands tethered on the front, or do they just get?
They can be either way. Right now it's hooked up sacrificial, but you can just tie a simple knot in it to make it
Yeah.
not go anywhere.
Yeah.
And but it seemed to work pretty well. More or less made it for this glider, but I have a few other smallish gliders. In fact, there's one right here on my workbench that I'll probably work with as well. A few other just pure hand launch or bungee launch or whatever gliders, I thought. And I made it also for a friend of mine who's got a really interesting glider he wanted to launch that doesn't have a motor on it as well. He's the one who gave me the ideas. He's got this neat glider. He's like, how are you going to launch it? Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to throw it. I'm like, I got an idea, and I got a new toy.
Hold my beer.
beer. Yeah.
Let's get it 500 feet up before you know if it flies.
And we're talking CAD. For this, drawing this, most of the 3D CADs are not good for this type of stuff. So I found a program called LibreCAD. It's a purely 2D CAD, and it's actually really quite nice, free. And I was able to learn how to use it pretty quickly for what I needed to do, and it works great. Export into a DXF AutoCAD type file, and import it into the laser cutter program, and off we go. Easy peasy.
So, what's the mothership you're intending to use?
The twin
The Twimber.
Twimber, yes, the Twimber, twin timber.
Okay.
The really resurrected twin timber. I figured because the props are on the outside, not in the middle and stuff, and it's a fairly large plane with leading. It can fly pretty slow, and I thought, I'll just stick it on that. See how that works.
What people don't know is that's hemp plywood, so Fitz is burning a lot of glider pylons.
What's with all
It
these
did make the
Dorito
shot
bags
pretty-
in the shop?
It made the shop pretty smoky, so I actually went and got some stuff to pipe the smoke out through the previously used.
People driving by the garage, smoke just pouring out this.
Get Cheech and Chong flashbacks. Yeah. So yeah, it's so I have a way to exhaust the smoke out now, so it's not so bad.
All right. Cool. So, when do you intend to try that out?
I have no idea. Good question.
All right. Well, I
whenever.
already mentioned that the lake is frozen up here, and it's been pretty cold lately. We might be able to fly this weekend, so we'll see. But you guys should have some pretty good weather this time of year down there.
Not this weekend.
Oh, really?
It's gonna be cold and rainy.
Yeah,
this weekend.
I was getting the Zero ready for the Pearl Harbor event at Space City, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Bummer.
Oh,
So
this
what-
is interesting. This is for and you, George. You've asked the right person.
Yes. So we were initially told that we had to the end of the year.
Well, hold on.
That's
Repeat the question.
Oh,
for
I'm
those who
sorry.
can't see.
He's asking me. Our club is having the Warbirds event for next April, but initially we were told that the club field we'll be losing our field basically. NASA has leased out a huge chunk of real estate previously unused or very little used, except for us, Rocket Club, and some various occasional experiments that NASA does here and there. And so they're building a technology center that's a commercial enterprise, and eventually it'll encroach on our flying field. And so initially NASA said, hey, you've got about to the end of the year, and then you probably won't be able to fly anymore because of, they're building these facilities. Well, and so that's the word we kind of spread around, but it turns out that was way premature, and they haven't even started building anything yet. So we have it looks like we're going to have quite a bit more time than we thought being there. Eventually, it looks like we're going to be kicked out, but until then, we're going to stay there as long as we can until the building bricks hit us in the butt. And they said we can stay there as long as we're not intruding on their building construction. So, and it looks like hopefully they won't, start on top of us. So George, answer your question is we're going to be there. We put that on just in case. In fact, Mike Leibel, it just entered the chat. He's the one who's organizing it. He's the CD of the event. And so we're still going strong. We still have no problems. We're flying up a storm. We are in the background looking for other alternatives for flying somewhere else. And so we're working on that as an eventual backup plan. But for now and for the foreseeable future, we're still flying.
I thought that field was the mating ground for the endangered northern reticulated titmouse.
I thought so too, but apparently they're not so endangered or something because,
Oh, we better call the EPA just to be sure, or PETA, or whoever handles that stuff.
And there's a bunch of stuff going on because we asked, what about this spot? They're like, well, no, that's going to be developed by these people. What about this spot? Well, no, that's the lunar rover people are building their Lunarscape. What the? So there's a lot going on there, and it's it's all dedicated for. I think Texas A&M is building some stuff for research and academic stuff. So unfortunately, this great site that we've had for over 50 years is we're going to be losing it at some point, unfortunately. And it's such a great flying site. It's huge, super huge, paved area. And really, really open. Great club. It's a nice
government cuts the grass.
Government cuts the grass, and occasionally does some other stuff for us. We got power, but I guess all things come to an end at some point, and so we'll just deal with it, move on. But like I said, George, for the time being, no, we're not going anywhere. I don't have a time. I don't have a time, and so if anybody asks me, how long we have, I'm going to say I have no idea. We're going to go until they kick us out, and we don't have a time frame. And so spread the word. We're not dead yet. Rumors of our demise have been greatly exaggerated.
I'm not dead.
I'm not dead yet. I think I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I think I'll pull through. Whack.
Right. See you Thursday. Some of us have seen Monty Python. Hopefully you have too.
You know.
Yes.
Just what are you going to do? Bleed on me?
All right, that's enough. Okay. It's Friday, folks. I hope you guys are going to have a great weekend if you can. If not, you're going to be building like Fitz and I are. And Terry, go have fun. Go have fun in your frozen lake.
Yeah, the Great White North, eh?
So I do have an RC snowmobile that I need to get out and put hobby grade stuff in it. So maybe that'll be a new or an upcoming project for me. We'll see.
All right.
Oh, cool.
I'm working on the RC rescue. Making progress.
Sure you are, Lee. Sure you are.
I sent you photos, you weenie.
I know.
We will have one coming soon.
With any luck, we'll have 3 of them coming soon. Yeah. And what about you, Fitz? You said you were going to talk about something.
My plan is to rescue my workshop. It is a complete mess, and that's my holiday plans is to make it unmess.
His is a mental rescue.
Yeah, I had something, right? What was it?
I will have to listen to an old episode.
I don't remember. I probably got several candidates, so this doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Here's his 800-part DeLorean rescue.
Yeah, that's the main rescue. I really got to work on that too.
All right. Well, let's let everybody go home. Fitz, can you wrap things up for us?
All right. Well, happy holidays, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the year. Get something, build something, make something, whatever. Do something modeling. Get some cathartic action going on in the workshop and tell us about it after the year is done. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Reminder, you can always send us a note to contact@rcroundtable.com. Keep them coming. And for those listening, you can see us on YouTube at RC Roundtable on YouTube. Vice versa, if you're watching YouTube, we do have a regular audio podcast. You can find it on the normal podcast sites such as where are they, Lee? Spotify is one of them. Yeah, we're on Spotify. We're somebody now.
Yeah. And if you're on Spotify, you can watch the video at the same time because we upload our videos to Spotify.
You can watch it on your iX14.
You probably could. Yeah. All right. Like I said, like and subscribe. Please give us some algorithm love. Thank you so much for watching. It's great to see you guys in the chat. Those guys we know and those guys we don't know. Thanks for joining us. We are the RC Roundtable, Three Amigos. Hopefully we will see you at an event. It's nearby sometime soon in the future.
You didn't know where that sentence was going when you started.
I don't know. I'm just talking. All right,
Big
thanks,
Blue
guys.
is fit sniffing.
I gotta sniff something. If it's wrong with the sniff motor oil. All right, guys. Any last words before we bug out?
No, we'll do another podcast before the end of the year.
Oh,
Not a live one, but
Not a live one, but we'll record another podcast.
okay. We're gonna slip one in. Okay, post Christmas one, maybe.
No, maybe right before.
Before?
Maybe we'll do two.
Oh, jeez. We'll do one a day. Well. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the RC Roundtable. Take care.
And out.
please visit our website at rcroundtable.com. That's where you will find all of our podcast episodes. You can also find a little bit of background information about the show host and leave comments and suggestions about the show. There are links to a few of our favorite vendors and also links to our various social media accounts. Thank you for watching and listening.